My wife's gay best friend wasn't gay at all, and I discovered their 5-year affair by accident. I trusted Owen completely, absolutely without question, trusted him around my wife because he was gay. That's what everyone believed. That's what he told everyone. That's what my wife Christina confirmed when I asked early in our relationship if it was weird that her best friend was a guy. Owen's gay, Marcus. He's like having a girlfriend who understands architecture and can lift heavy boxes. We all laughed. I never questioned it again. And for 5 years, while I worked long hours building my architectural career, Owen and my wife were having an affair in my home, in my bed, sometimes while I was traveling for business, and my son was asleep down the hall. Hey, Reddit, this is the story of how I discovered that the gay best friend everyone accepts without suspicion isn't always what he claims to be, and how that deception allowed the most elaborate betrayal I could have imagined. I'm Marcus, 34 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question every assumption you've made about the people closest to you. You know that moment when your entire understanding of reality shatters because one foundational assumption turns out to be completely false? When something you never questioned, something so basic you built years of trust on it, is revealed to be an elaborate lie? That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how completely I was deceived, you need to understand how Owen's perceived sexuality created a blind spot so massive that I ignored warning signs for 5 years. I met Christina 8 years ago when I was 26 and she was 24. I was working as an associate architect at a mid-sized firm in Portland, making about $68,000 a year. Christina was working in event planning, making around $52,000. We met at a wedding she'd planned for a mutual acquaintance, connected over our shared love of design and travel, and started dating within a month. Christina was vibrant, creative, social. She had this energy that drew people to her, always organizing gatherings, always connecting friends, always at the center of every social circle she was part of. I was more reserved, analytical, the type who'd rather have deep conversations with a few people than work a room of strangers. We complemented each other perfectly. Owen was part of Christina's life from the beginning. They'd been best friends since college, met in an event planning class, bonded over their shared aesthetic sense and love of pop culture, stayed close after graduation. When Christina talked about Owen, it was always in glowing terms. Owen is the most fabulous human alive, or Owen has the best taste in literally everything, or I don't know what I'd do without Owen. The first time I met Owen, he matched every stereotype of the flamboyant gay best friend. He greeted Christina with an enthusiastic "babe" and air-kissed both her cheeks. He was impeccably dressed in fitted designer jeans and a perfectly tailored shirt. His apartment, which we visited later, was decorated like something from a design magazine. Velvet furniture, curated art, everything coordinated and intentional. He asked me questions about my work, seemed genuinely interested in architecture, made intelligent observations about design principles. He complimented my shoes, expensive ones I'd saved for, and said, "Finally, Christina found a man with actual taste." He talked about an ex-boyfriend who'd broken his heart. He used words like fabulous and gorgeous and stunning in regular conversation. Every signal said gay man, supportive, stylish, non-threatening gay best friend who posed zero risk to my relationship with Christina. "I love Owen," I told Christina after that first meeting. "He's great. I'm glad you have such a good—" "Owen's the best," she agreed. "And he really liked you, which is important. Owen has good instincts about people." Owen became a fixture in our relationship. He joined us for dinners at least once a week. He went with us to movies, museums, weekend trips. When Christina and I moved in together after a year of dating, Owen helped us move and spent hours arranging furniture and hanging art. When I proposed to Christina after 2 years together, Owen was there helping me plan, suggested the perfect restaurant, helped me pick the right flowers, gave me advice on what to say. At our wedding, Owen gave a speech about Christina that made everyone laugh and cry. He talked about their friendship, how excited he was that she'd found someone worthy of her, how he'd known from the first time he met me that I was the one for her. In the wedding photos, Owen is beaming, standing next to Christina in the bridesmaid lineup. We'd done a mixed wedding party, her friends regardless of gender, mine regardless of gender. Looking at those photos now makes me physically ill because Owen wasn't celebrating our marriage. He was already sleeping with my wife. The first 2 years of marriage were good. We both worked, both contributed to household expenses, spent evenings cooking together and weekends exploring Portland. Owen was still around constantly, joined us for Sunday brunches, came over for game nights, traveled with us to California for a long weekend. His presence felt normal, expected, comfortable. When people would ask if it was weird that my wife's best friend was a guy who was constantly around, I'd laugh. Owen's gay. It's like having another girlfriend in the group, honestly. Zero threat, just good company. People would nod, understanding. That's the social contract. Gay best friends are safe. They're not competition. They're not a concern. Society has collectively agreed that a gay male friend poses no risk to a heterosexual relationship, which is why husbands don't get jealous, why boundaries that would exist with straight male friends don't apply. And Owen exploited that assumption perfectly. 3 years into our marriage, Christina got pregnant. We were thrilled, had been trying for about 6 months. Owen was one of the first people we told. "Oh my God, you're going to be a mom!" Owen squealed, hugging Christina tight. "And Marcus, you're going to be a dad. This is the best news ever. I'm going to be the best gay uncle this baby has ever seen." He threw Christina's baby shower, helped us design the nursery, was at the hospital when our son Tyler was born, holding Christina's hand alongside me during labor, crying when Tyler arrived. "He's perfect," Owen said, looking at Tyler with what seemed like genuine emotion. "You two made the most beautiful baby." Tyler is 5 now. He calls Owen Uncle Owen and lights up when Owen visits. Owen brings Tyler thoughtful gifts, books, art supplies, toys that encourage creativity. He plays with Tyler patiently, reads to him with funny voices, takes him to museums and parks when Christina needs a break. Owen is woven into the fabric of our family. He has a key to our house, has had one since we moved in, ostensibly so he could water plants or grab things when we were traveling. He knows our schedules, our routines, our habits. He's present for birthdays, holidays, regular Tuesday nights. He's family, except he was sleeping with my wife the entire time. Looking back now with the clarity of devastating hindsight, I can see signs I missed. Not big obvious signs. Owen and Christina were careful. But small things that individually seemed innocent, but collectively paint a different picture. Christina and Owen texted constantly. I'd see her phone light up with his messages throughout the day, funny memes, plans for upcoming events, observations about mutual friends. When I'd ask what was so funny, she'd show me the texts, which always seemed innocuous. What I didn't know was she had a separate messaging app where the real conversations happened. They had a lot of inside jokes I wasn't part of, references to things they'd seen or talked about when I wasn't around. When I'd ask them to explain, they would, but the explanation never quite captured why it was funny. It was their joke, their moment. I was on the outside of something. Owen would compliment Christina constantly. "You look gorgeous today, babe. That dress is stunning on you. Your hair looks amazing." I thought nothing of it. That's what gay best friends do, right? They notice fashion, they compliment appearance, they validate their female friends in ways straight male friends might find awkward. But the compliments were frequent, almost constant, and Christina would light up when Owen praised her in ways she didn't when I complimented her. They spent a lot of time alone together, girls' days out, which I never questioned because Owen was gay, so it was basically Christina shopping with a girlfriend who could carry heavy bags. Dinners when I was working late. Coffee dates on Saturday mornings. Evenings when Owen would come over and they'd watch reality TV while I worked in my home office. About a year ago, things started feeling slightly off. Nothing I could articulate clearly, just a vague unease. Christina seemed more invested in Owen's opinion than mine sometimes. She'd buy clothes and immediately text Owen photos, waiting for his approval before wearing them. She'd plan our social calendar around Owen's availability. She'd get defensive when I'd suggest having a quiet weekend without Owen joining us for something. "Why don't you like Owen?" she'd ask when I'd suggest we do things as just our family. "I do like Owen. I just think sometimes it might be nice to have time that's just us. We have plenty of time that's just us. And Owen is family. You've always said that. Why are you being weird about this now?" I'd back down, feeling like I was being unreasonable. Owen was her best friend. Of course she wanted him around. I was probably just stressed about work or tired from parenting, or being irrationally jealous of a friendship that posed no threat. About 6 months ago, I noticed physical comfort between them that seemed excessive. Owen would put his arm around Christina's waist when we were walking, would brush hair out of her face, would hold her hand sometimes when they were sitting together. When I mentioned it seemed a bit intimate, Christina got annoyed. "He's gay, Marcus. This is how gay men are with their female friends. You're being homophobic by suggesting there's something inappropriate about normal affection." The homophobia accusation shut down my concern immediately. The last thing I wanted was to be the insecure straight guy who couldn't handle his wife having a close gay friend because of toxic masculinity. So I let it go. 4 months ago, I came home from work and found them on the couch, very close together, conversations stopping abruptly when I walked in. Both looked slightly guilty, though they covered it quickly. "What were you guys talking about?" I asked. "Just friend stuff," Christina said. "You wouldn't find it interesting?" "Try me. Just drama with one of Owen's ex-boyfriends," Owen said smoothly. "Very gay drama. Very boring for straight guys." I accepted that explanation, because why wouldn't I? Owen was gay, Christina was his best friend. Of course, they'd have conversations about his dating life that I wouldn't be part of. 3 months ago, I noticed Christina started caring more about her appearance, working out 5 days a week instead of her usual 2 or 3, buying new lingerie, which should have excited me, except she never wore it for me, getting waxed more regularly, wearing makeup and styling her hair even on days when she was supposedly just running errands. "You look great," I told her one morning. "Special occasion?" "Just taking care of myself, making an effort. You don't have to look dowdy just because you're a mom." "You never looked?" "Ah, dowdy. But I'm glad you're feeling good about yourself." She smiled, but it wasn't for me. That smile was distant, distracted, directed at something or someone else. 2 months ago, I traveled to Chicago for a conference. 4 days, which was longer than I usually traveled. Christina seemed excited about having time alone with Tyler, making special plans for their mother-son week. When I called the first evening, around 8 p.m. their time, Tyler answered, "Daddy, Uncle Owen is here. We had pizza." "Oh yeah? That's fun. Can I talk to Mommy?" Christina got on the phone, sounding slightly breathless. "Hey, honey, how's Chicago?" "Fine. Long day. Owen's over?" "Yeah, he stopped by with pizza, keeping us company since you're gone." "That's nice of him. What are you guys doing tonight?" "Just hanging out. Owen's going to help me organize the garage after Tyler goes to bed." Organizing the garage at 8 p.m. when Tyler had school the next morning. It seemed odd, but not alarming. Owen helped with projects around the house often. I called the next evening around the same time. Tyler answered again. "Hi, Daddy. Uncle Owen is here again. We had tacos." "Owen's there again?" "Yeah, he's been here every night. He's sleeping over tonight. It's like a sleepover party." My stomach dropped. "He's sleeping over?" Christina got on the phone. "Hey, before you say anything, Owen's having his apartment fumigate the whole building. He needed a place to stay for a few nights, and obviously I said he could stay here. It's not a big deal. You didn't mention that yesterday. I didn't think I needed to clear it with you for Owen to stay in the guest room. He's family." "Of course, I just wish you'd mentioned it. I'm mentioning it now. Is there a problem?" Her tone was defensive, challenging, like I was the unreasonable one for being surprised that her male best friend was staying in our house multiple nights while I was out of town. "No problem," I said, backing down. "Glad he has a place to stay." But I was bothered. Something felt wrong. Owen was gay, Christina's best friend, obviously safe, but the whole situation felt off in ways I couldn't articulate. When I got home from Chicago, the house was normal, clean, organized, no signs of anything unusual. Christina was affectionate, happy to see me, showed me how she and Owen had indeed organized the garage. Tyler was happy, well cared for. Everything seemed fine, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Some instinct I couldn't explain was telling me something was wrong. 1 month ago, I mentioned to my sister Rachel that I was feeling weird about Christina and Owen's friendship. We were having coffee, just the two of us. "What kind of weird?" Rachel asked. "I don't know, just they're very close. She's on her phone constantly texting him. He's at our house all the time. When I was in Chicago last month, he stayed over at our house 3 nights. Rachel raised her eyebrows. "Stayed over? While you weren't there?" "Yeah, something about his apartment being fumigated." "Marcus, don't take this the wrong way, but are you sure Owen is actually gay?" I stared at her. "Of course he's gay. He's been openly gay since before I met Christina. He talks about ex-boyfriends. He's flamboyant. He's..." Okay. I'm sure you're right. It's just that The way you're describing their relationship sounds more like an emotional affair than a friendship, but he's gay. Right, sorry, I'm sure I'm wrong. But Rachel had planted a seed of doubt I couldn't ignore. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Christina's phone while she was in the shower. I found nothing. Her texts with Owen were exactly what they'd always seemed like. Funny, friendly, innocuous, plans to meet for coffee, memes about reality TV, discussions about Tyler's preschool. Nothing inappropriate. I felt ashamed for looking, for doubting her, for letting my sister's offhand comment make me paranoid about a friendship that had never been anything but supportive. 3 weeks ago, I had a business dinner with a potential client, mentioned that my wife worked in event planning, that her best friend Owen was also in the industry, that the three of us were close. The client, a woman in her 50s, smiled knowingly. The three of you are close? How modern of you. What do you mean? Oh, nothing. I just think it's great when spouses are secure enough to have those kinds of arrangements. My generation was too uptight for that. I didn't understand what she meant. Arrangements? I'm not following. She looked uncomfortable. I just meant, never mind, I shouldn't have said anything. Tell me about your architectural vision for the project. The conversation moved on, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. What arrangements? What did she think she understood about my relationship with Christina and Owen? 2 weeks ago, I ran into Owen's mother at the grocery store. She'd always been kind to me, though we didn't see each other often since Owen's family lived across the country in North Carolina. Marcus, how nice to see you. How are Christina and Tyler? They're great. We didn't know you were in town. Just visiting Owen for a few days. He seems happy, which is wonderful. Though I do wish he'd settle down, find a nice partner, but I suppose with his situation, it's complicated. His situation? She looked confused. You know, his lifestyle, though I suppose people are more accepting now than when I was young. Still, a mother worries about her child's happiness. I didn't press further, but her words stuck with me. His situation, his lifestyle, said in a tone that suggested judgment or concern, not celebration. That seemed odd for a mother discussing her openly gay son's dating life. Last week, I had a nightmare. I was at a party and everyone was laughing at me. When I asked why, they all pointed at Christina and Owen, who were kissing in the dream. I protested that Owen was gay and everyone laughed harder. We all know, they said. You're the only one who doesn't. I woke up sweating, heart pounding. It was just a dream, a stress dream, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my subconscious was trying to tell me something my conscious mind refused to accept. 3 days ago, I was supposed to fly to Seattle for a one-day meeting. Quick trip, fly out morning, meeting afternoon, fly back evening. I'd be home by 10 p.m. The morning of the trip, I kissed Christina and Tyler goodbye. I'll see you tonight, I told them. Tyler, be good for Mom. Can Uncle Owen come over? Tyler asked. Sure, buddy, Christina said quickly. I'll see if Uncle Owen wants to have dinner with us. I got to the airport at 6 a.m. for my 7:30 flight. Checked in, went through security, sat at the gate. At 7 a.m., an announcement, flight canceled due to mechanical issues. Next flight to Seattle wouldn't leave until 3 p.m. I called my client, explained the situation. No worries, he said. Let's just reschedule for next week. Not worth you sitting in airports all day. I texted Christina, flight canceled, rescheduling the whole meeting. I'm coming home. She didn't respond immediately, which wasn't unusual. She was probably getting Tyler ready for preschool. I took an Uber home, arriving at 8:15 a.m. Christina's car was in the driveway. So was Owen's. That was odd. Tyler's preschool started at 8:30, so Christina should have been driving him there right now. And why was Owen here at 8 a.m.? I used my key to unlock the front door quietly, not wanting to startle anyone if they were in the middle of something mundane like having coffee in the kitchen. The house was quiet. I walked through the living room. Empty. Kitchen. Empty. Tyler's bedroom door was open. Room empty. My home office. Empty. Then I noticed our bedroom door was closed. It was never closed during the day. Never. I stood outside that door for what felt like forever but was probably only seconds. My hand shook as I reached for the doorknob, and then I heard it. Christina's laugh. Breathless. Intimate. Followed by Owen's voice. God, I missed you. I hate when he's home and I can't touch you. I opened the door. They were in our bed. My wife and the man everyone thought was gay. Christina saw me first, her face going from pleasure to horror in an instant. Owen turned, saw me, scrambled to cover himself. No one spoke. The silence was deafening. Finally, I found my voice. Owen, you're not gay. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. 5 years of assumptions shattering in one sentence. Owen opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Marcus, how long? Christina pulled the sheets around herself, crying now. Marcus, please. How long? 5 years, Owen whispered. Since a few months before your wedding. 5 years. My entire marriage, built on a lie, maintained through elaborate deception, made possible. Because everyone, including me, believed Owen was gay and therefore safe. I walked out of that bedroom, out of that house, got in my car and drove. I don't remember where I went or how long I drove. All I knew was that everything I thought I understood about my life, my marriage, my wife's best friend, my sense of reality, all of it was based on a fundamental lie that everyone around me had maintained while I remained oblivious. The nightmare wasn't just that my wife had been unfaithful. It was that she'd used my trust, society's assumptions about gay male friendships, and my complete lack of suspicion to conduct a 5-year affair right in front of me, in my house, in my bed, while our son slept down the hall, and Owen, the man I'd trusted completely, welcomed into my family, given a key to my home, allowed unlimited access to my wife because I believed he was gay, and therefore posed zero threat. It had never been gay at all. It had all been an elaborate performance designed to exploit the one blind spot that society has collectively agreed is safe, the gay best friend. I'd been played for 5 years by the two people I trusted most. And the worst part? I still didn't know how many other people knew the truth. How many people had been pitying me, laughing at me, watching me trust Owen implicitly while knowing exactly what he and Christina were doing behind my back. I drove for 3 hours, Portland to the coast, parked at Cannon Beach, stared at the ocean, tried to process what I'd seen. My wife in our bed with Owen, who everyone thought was gay, who I'd trusted completely, who'd been my friend, Tyler's uncle, a fixture in our lives, had never been gay at all. It had all been an elaborate lie designed to give him unrestricted access to my wife. 5 years. The affair started before we were even married. Christina had walked down the aisle toward me, made vows to love and honor me while sleeping with her gay best friend the entire time. Our whole marriage was a fraud. My phone had been ringing constantly. Christina, Owen, Christina again. I finally turned it off. Around noon, I turned it back on. 53 missed calls, dozens of texts. I ignored them all except one, a text from my sister Rachel. Marcus, Christina called me crying, saying you walked out. What happened? Call me. I called Rachel. You were right. Right about what? Owen isn't gay. He's been sleeping with Christina for 5 years. I came home early from a canceled trip and found them in our bed. Silence. Oh my God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. Where are you? Cannon Beach. I needed to get away and think. What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to go back and destroy everything they own. Part of me wants to never go back. Part of me just wants to understand how this happened, how I could be so blind. You weren't blind. They deliberately deceived you. They exploited social assumptions about gay friendships to hide their affair. This isn't your fault. Everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. The clueless husband who trusted his wife's gay best friend for 5 years while they were fucking in my house? No one who matters will think that. People will be horrified by what they did. The deception is worse than the affair itself. We talked for another hour. Rachel convinced me to come stay with her and her husband David for a few days while I figured out my next steps. I drove to their house in Northwest Portland, walked in looking like I'd been hit by a truck. David took one look at me and said, "I'm getting you a whiskey." I told them everything, every detail of the 5 years of Owen's constant presence, Christina's deflect, the signs I'd missed, the way they'd used the gay best friend cover to conduct an affair right in front of me. The worst part, I said, is wondering who else knew. Did our friends know? Did people see them together and just assume I was okay with it because Owen was supposedly gay? How many people have been pitying me while I remained completely oblivious? Rachel looked at David, something passing between them. What? I asked. Marcus, Rachel hesitated. About 8 months ago, David and I saw Christina and Owen at a restaurant downtown. It was a Tuesday night around 8 p.m. They were at a corner table, very intimate, holding hands, leaning in close, the way couples sit. When they saw us, they separated quickly and Owen pretended he was giving Christina advice about event planning. My vision blurred. Saw them 8 months ago and didn't tell me. We convinced ourselves we'd misinterpreted what we saw. Owen was gay, so obviously they were just being close friends. We thought maybe we were reading too much into body language. I'm so sorry, Marcus. We should have said something. Who else saw him? Who else knew? I don't know, but if we saw them once, others probably did too. That thought made me sick. How many mutual friends had witnessed Christina and Owen's affair and said nothing because they assumed the gay best friend was safe? How many people had been quietly judging me, pitying me, watching me be deceived while staying silent? The next morning, I called a divorce attorney, Margaret Sullivan, highly recommended for complex marital cases. I met with her that afternoon, told her everything. The fake sexuality is an unusual element, Margaret said, taking notes. But the core issue is straightforward. 5-year affair, deception, exploitation of trust. We'll need to move quickly to protect your assets and establish custody arrangements. Custody? You have a 5-year-old son. Custody will be a major component of this divorce. Given your wife's prolonged affair and the deception involved, we can make a strong case for primary custody. I want primary custody. I don't trust her judgment anymore. She brought her affair partner around our child constantly, lied to both of us, created an entire fake reality to maintain her affair. That's not good parenting. Agreed. We'll argue that her pattern of deception and poor judgment makes her unsuitable for primary custody. Now tell me about your finances. Joint accounts? Individual assets? I walked Margaret through our financial situation. Joint checking and savings account, joint ownership of the house, individual retirement accounts. Christina made about $65,000. I made $140,000. We'd been married 7 years, so she'd be entitled to some spousal support likely, though Oregon's laws were relatively balanced. I want you to pull all financial records immediately, Margaret instructed. Bank statements, credit card statements, everything for the past 5 years. We need to see if there's evidence of her spending marital funds on the affair. Over the next week, while staying with Rachel and David, I became a detective of my own life. I accessed our joint bank accounts and credit cards, downloaded years of statements, and started analyzing spending patterns. What I found was damning. Secret charges to hotels in Portland on days when Christina told me she was working expensive dinners for two at romantic restaurants on girls' nights, weekend getaways where Christina claimed she was attending professional conferences, but the charges showed resort hotels with spa treatments and romantic restaurants. In 5 years, Christina had spent approximately $47,000 of marital funds on her affair with Owen. Money that should have gone to our family, to Tyler's future, to our joint life. She'd spent it conducting an affair with her fake gay best friend. I compiled everything into a detailed spreadsheet. Dates, locations, amounts, what Christina had told me she was doing versus what the financial records showed she was actually doing. The pattern was undeniable. Margaret reviewed the documentation. This is excellent. She was embezzling marital funds to finance her affair. That strengthens our position significantly for asset division and reduces potential spousal support. She can't claim she needs support when she was spending $50,000 on her affair. What about Owen? Can we go after him legally? Oregon doesn't recognize alienation of affection claims, unfortunately, but we can certainly make his role public in divorce proceedings, and his deception about his sexuality, pretending to be gay to gain access to your wife, that's going to be relevant to custody discussions because it shows calculated, long-term deception in your child's home environment. 2 weeks after discovering the affair, I'd avoided Christina completely. She'd sent hundreds of texts and tried calling countless times. And finally, I sent a single, "My attorney will be in touch. Don't contact me directly. All communication goes through counsel." Her response was immediate. "Marcus, please, we need to talk. Let me explain. Owen and I love each other. It's real. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. We never meant to hurt you. Please let me see Tyler. He needs his mother." I showed the text to Margaret. She's saying she loves him, that it's real. Like that somehow justifies 5 years of lying to my face. Typical affair logic. They convince themselves the relationship is special, transcendent, worth the deception. Let her send these texts. They're evidence of her prioritizing her affair over her family. 3 weeks after the discovery, Margaret filed divorce papers. Full custody request citing Christina's prolonged affair, pattern of deception, and financial misconduct. Asset division favoring me due to her embezzlement of marital funds. minimal spousal support given her earning capacity and misuse of marital assets. Christina was served at work. According to mutual friends, she had a breakdown in front of colleagues when she realized I was not only divorcing her, but going for full custody and exposing her financial misconduct. She hired an attorney and immediately tried to paint herself as the victim. Her narrative, Marcus was controlling and emotionally distant. She found comfort with Owen. She made mistakes, but deserved forgiveness. I was being vindictive by seeking full custody. Margaret shut that down quickly. We have 5 years of documented deception, explicit evidence of her affair, proof she spent $50,000 of marital funds on that affair, and testimony that she deliberately maintained a false narrative about Owen's sexuality to avoid suspicion. Her emotional comfort argument doesn't excuse calculated long-term betrayal. The preliminary custody hearing was brutal. Christina's attorney tried to argue she'd been the primary caregiver while I worked long hours. Margaret countered with evidence that Christina had been unavailable during many of those hours, not working, but conducting her affair. Mrs. Mitchell claimed she was working late, attending conferences, running errands, Margaret told the judge. Financial records show she was actually at hotels and restaurants with Owen Mitchell. While Mr. Mitchell worked to support the family, Mrs. Mitchell was engaged in an affair she disguised by exploiting social assumptions about gay friendships. The judge reviewed the evidence, looked at Christina with clear disapproval. Mrs. Mitchell, did you maintain a 5-year affair with a man you introduced to your family as your gay best friend? Christina crying, yes, but, and did you spend marital funds totaling approximately $47,000 on this affair without your husband's knowledge? The expenses weren't just for, yes or no, Mrs. Mitchell? Yes. And is it true that Mr. Mitchell discovered this affair by coming home unexpectedly and finding you and Mr. Owen Mitchell in the marital bed? Yes. The judge made his preliminary ruling. 70-30 custody split favoring me, with Christina getting alternating weekends and 1 weeknight dinner. Mandatory. Counseling for Tyler to help him adjust. Financial restraining orders to prevent Christina from further depleting marital assets. Trial scheduled for 6 months out to determine permanent arrangement. Christina walked out of that courtroom destroyed. She'd expected sympathy, forgiveness, understanding. Instead, she'd been confronted with the calculated nature of her deception and faced consequences. But I wasn't satisfied with just the legal consequences. I needed people to understand what had happened, not for revenge, though I won't pretend that wasn't part of it, but for truth. Because Christina and Owen had controlled the narrative for 5 years, and I needed to reclaim my own story. I hired a private investigator. I want to know everything about Owen Mitchell, his real dating history, whether he's actually gay or if that was entirely fabricated. Who knows the truth? Everything. What the investigator uncovered was stunning. Owen wasn't gay, had never been. The entire persona was fabricated specifically to pursue Christina. They'd met in college. Owen had been interested in Christina romantically from the beginning, but she'd been dating someone else. Owen had declared himself gay to remain close to her as a safe friend. When that relationship ended, Christina started dating other men, and Owen maintained the gay persona, waiting for his opportunity. When Christina and I got together, Owen was already deeply enmeshed in her life as the trusted gay best friend. A few months before our wedding, according to evidence the investigator found, Christina and Owen had started the affair. She'd gotten cold feet about the wedding. Owen had comforted her. One thing led to another, and they'd been together ever since. The investigator also found that several people suspected the truth. Christina's college roommate had always doubted Owen was actually gay. A few of Owen's work colleagues had noticed he never actually dated men, never talked about gay relationships, beyond vague references to ex-boyfriends who never materialized. Most devastatingly, the investigator found evidence that Owen's own family didn't believe he was gay. They'd been going along with what they thought was their son's identity, being supportive despite their conservative religious background, when Owen had been lying to them the entire time. I contacted Owen's mother, Mrs. Mitchell. We met for coffee. I showed her everything. Owen isn't gay, I told her. He never was. He pretended to be gay so he could maintain a relationship with my wife without anyone suspecting an affair. He's been lying to you, to me, to everyone for years. Mrs. Mitchell looked at the evidence. Photos of Owen and Christina together, financial records, the investigator's report, and started crying. We accepted what we thought was our son's sexuality. We loved him despite our religious beliefs because he's our son. And he was lying the entire time using our acceptance as cover for an affair? I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but I thought you deserved to know the truth. She called Owen immediately, right there in the coffee shop. I could hear him trying to explain, justify, deflect. Mrs. Mitchell cut him off. You lied to us. You lied to Marcus. You lied to everyone for years. You destroyed a family. You made us believe you were someone you're not. I need time. Don't contact me. She hung up, looked at me with devastation matching my own. What kind of person does this? Someone who wanted my wife badly enough to create an entire false identity to have her. The truth spread quickly after that. Mrs. Mitchell told Owen's father and siblings. Word got back to mutual friends. People who'd seen Christina and Owen together over the years suddenly realized they hadn't been misinterpreting couple-like behavior. They'd been watching an affair hidden in plain sight. The social consequences were severe. Christina and Owen's professional reputations suffered. Both worked in event planning, a field dependent on trust and reputation. Clients didn't want to hire people known for elaborate deception. Colleagues distanced themselves from both of them. Our mutual friend group featured. Most people sided with me. The betrayal was too calculated, too prolonged, too devastating for people to remain neutral. A few tried to maintain friendships with everyone, but found it impossible to reconcile the Christina they thought they knew with the woman who'd conducted a 5-year affair using such calculated deception. Christina's own family was horrified when they learned the full scope. Her father called me to apologize. If I'd known, I would have. I don't even know. She's my daughter and I love her, but what she did to you and Tyler is unforgivable. I'm so sorry, Marcus. 6 months after discovery, the final divorce trial happened. Christina had given up fighting for primary custody. Her attorney had made clear the evidence was too damning. The trial was mostly about asset division and spousal support. The judge awarded me the house. I'd been paying the mortgage while Christina spent marital funds on her affair, so equity was disproportionately mine. Christina received a small payout for her share, significantly reduced by her financial misconduct. Spousal support was minimal. $600 a month for 3 years only, far less than she'd hoped for given the income disparity and her misuse of marital assets. Final custody, 70-30 split. Tyler would live with me primarily, Christina on alternating weekends. She'd have to rebuild a relationship with her son that had been damaged by her choices and deception. Christina tried to continue her relationship with Owen after the divorce. Apparently, they'd convinced themselves that once they were finally free, their love would flourish. It lasted 4 months. Turns out built on deception and betrayal don't thrive when exposed to daylight. Owen had built his entire identity around access to Christina through the gay best friend persona. Without that structure, their relationship revealed itself as what it really was, an affair sustained by secrecy and forbidden excitement, not by genuine compatibility or love. They broke up badly. Christina blamed Owen for the destruction of her marriage and family, even though she'd been an equal participant. Owen blamed Christina for not being worth the sacrifices he'd made. Both realized too late that affairs rarely survive once they're no longer affairs. A year after the divorce, I was in therapy. Dr. Chen specialized in betrayal trauma and helping clients rebuild trust after devastating deception. The unique element in your case, Dr. Chen explained, is the weaponization of social assumption. Society has collectively agreed that gay male friends are safe, non-threatening presences in heterosexual relationships. Christina and Owen exploited that assumption deliberately and systematically for 5 years. That's not just infidelity, that's calculated of social trust. How do I ever trust anyone again when the person I trusted most lied so completely? By recognizing that Christina's capacity for deception doesn't define everyone else's character. By learning to notice red flags you missed before. By accepting that trust always involves some risk, but that risk is necessary for genuine human connection. And by forgiving yourself for being trusting, that's not a flaw. 2 years after the divorce, I started dating again. Slowly, carefully, with trust issues I had to openly acknowledge. Met a woman named Sarah at a professional conference. She was an engineer, divorced herself, understood the complexities of rebuilding after betrayal. When I told her my story, her response was perfect. That's one of the most calculated betrayals I've ever heard, but it says everything about them and nothing about you. You weren't foolish for trusting. They were deplorable for exploiting that trust so completely. 3 years after the divorce, Tyler was 8 and thriving. He saw me as his primary parent, the stable presence in his life. He saw Christina every other weekend, but their relationship remained distant. She'd broken his trust too when the truth came out about Owen. Uncle Owen isn't actually my uncle, Tyler had asked me when he was old enough to understand. And he wasn't really Mommy's friend. He was her boyfriend while she was married to you. Yes, buddy, I'm sorry you had to learn that adults sometimes lie about important things. That's really mean. Both of them lying like that. Yes, it was. Tyler had stopped wanting to spend weekends with Christina after learning the full truth. The court allowed him to decide at age 8, and he chose to see her only occasionally. Christina's relationship with her son was another casualty of her choices. 4 years after the divorce, I married Sarah. Tyler walked her down the aisle. At age 9, he'd asked if he could give her away to me, which made everyone at the wedding cry. Sarah's family embraced both of us. Owen was a distant memory, and life felt genuinely good for the first time since the betrayal. Christina attended Tyler's school events, sometimes standing awkwardly on the periphery, while Sarah and I sat with him at the front. She'd lost everything: her marriage, her son's trust, her social circle, her reputation, her relationship with Owen, all for an affair she'd convinced herself was worth the cost. 5 years after discovering the affair, I ran into Owen at a professional conference. We'd both ended up at the same architecture and design event. He looked older, worn down, less polished than the flamboyant gay best friend persona he'd maintained for so long. "Marcus," he said, clearly considering whether to approach me. I considered walking away, but curiosity won. "Owen, I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm sorry. What we did was wrong. The deception was wrong. I destroyed your family and my own relationships for something that wasn't even real." "No, it wasn't real. It was an affair maintained through elaborate lies. Did you ever actually care about Tyler, or was that all performance too?" "I cared about him. That part was real. But not real enough to consider how your affair would affect him when it eventually came out. Not real enough to stop lying to him every time you called yourself Uncle Owen while sleeping with his mother." Owen looked at the ground. "I can't defend what I did. I just wanted you to know I carry the guilt every day." "Good. You should." I walked away from that conversation feeling nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, just emptiness where Owen used to be. He'd been my friend, someone I'd trusted completely, and now he was just a stranger who'd helped destroy my old life. 7 years after the discovery, I'm 41. Tyler is 12 and doing well. Good grades, solid friends, emotionally healthy despite the trauma of his early childhood. Sarah and I have a solid marriage built on honesty and mutual respect. We have a daughter now too, Emma, age 2, giving Tyler the sibling he'd always wanted. Christina is 39, still working in event planning, though not as successfully as before. She sees Tyler occasionally, but their relationship never recovered. She's dated a few people, but nothing serious. Her reputation for elaborate deception follows her in Portland's interconnected professional and social circles. Owen moved to Seattle, started over where fewer people knew his story. Last I heard, he was single and still working in design. His family relationships never fully recovered. His mother eventually forgave him, but trust was permanently damaged. Looking back, I understand now that I wasn't foolish for trusting. I was exploited by people who weaponized social assumptions about sexuality to conduct a 5-year affair. That's not a failure of my judgment. That's evidence of their willingness to manipulate societal trust for personal gain. The hardest lesson was accepting that some betrayals are so calculated, so prolonged, so fundamental that they can't be forgiven or overcome. Christina didn't make a mistake. She made 5 years of daily choices to lie, deceive, and manipulate. That's not something you work through. That's something you walk away from. The fake gay best friend, the ultimate cover story, society's collective agreement that gay male friends pose no threat to heterosexual relationships, created the perfect blind spot for Christina and Owen to exploit. And they exploited it brilliantly, maintaining their affair right in front of me, in my home, sometimes in my bed, while I remained completely unsuspecting. But eventually, every lie gets exposed. Every betrayal faces consequences. And 5 years of deception came crashing down in one canceled flight and one opened bedroom door.